Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gassy Jack Gear Reviews. Thanks for tuning back in. We have another wristwatch review for you here, actually two. Before we get to it, I'm just going to give you a wristwatch check. We have the Casio F91W for you here. Many people know and love that watch and have it themselves. So, without further ado, we have two Vostok Amphibia watches here. These are almost identical watches. They come from the same series. The series is the 090 series. Now, both of these watches have been modded slightly. They both have different, one has a strap and one has a different bracelet on it as well. They both have different bezels. They didn't come with these bezels. I got these bezels from a company called AM Watches. Okay. And when I open this up, you'll see the original bezel that it came with. Pretty crappy. These are bi-directional bezels and they have no click to them, so they're just a smooth turn, which makes me think that, that's not the greatest if you're thinking about a dive watch, because if you knock it against something, you don't want it to spin around that much. It should be fairly secure, so they really should do a better job at that. They should have a clicking bezel, 60 or 120 clicks, and you can see here, or maybe you can't. I'm going to try to focus in there. Inside of this bezel, it's not in here now because I had to reuse it, but there's a little wire and it's kind of crimped along, and it kind of snaps in or places in, and then that's what actually snaps this into the case. I don't really care for that design, I'll be honest, but what are you going to do? I think these watches were $60 or $64 US, something like that. They're very, very inexpensive watches, and they're fun watches. And don't let the price fool you. These watches are not to be laughed off at all. They are not highly refined watches. They're workhorse watches. If you know much about Russian products in general, you'll know that they're robust. I had a motorcycle. I had a Ural motorcycle, or what would be pronounced Ural, from the Ural mountain area, and it's a boxer motor. If you can look into it, very, very robust motor. Wasn't fast, wasn't fancy, was very fun. Only went about 110 kilometers an hour max. Or a little bit more if you're going downhill with a backwind, but very, very robust. Same goes for these watches. Very, very robust. I'll give you some stats on the watches first before we get into it too much. They have their own in-house movement. They call it the 24 or 2415 movement. It has a 31 hour power reserve. It's 31 joules. I don't know the beats per hour. Someone can chime in there in the comment section if you know the beats per hour there, to let everyone know. I don't know offhand. It's 41 millimeters wide. It's 15 millimeters high. I should say there. And it is 48 lug to lug. So, a little bit more about these watches. They have an in-house movement, and I've done some reading, done some investigating on these watches, and I guess what was going on was they didn't want the Russian military, the Russian government, needed a watch for their military and their navy, and they didn't want to have to rely on, say, Rolex or another company to buy their watches from. So they said, you know what, we're going to build our own. And they did, and I have to say, they did a really good job on this movement. Like I said, robust watch. It's a workhorse. It's an every person's kind of watch, just like many Russian products. They're for everyone. They're not an elitist watch. They're not for a certain group. They're for everyone. And the stat on this, they say, gets anywhere between negative 20 seconds and plus 60 seconds a day. And you would hear a stat like that and go, plus 60 seconds a day. What are you're going to have to set this watch every day or every couple of days if you want to be on time or not be too early to a meeting or whatever else. From my experience, they are much more accurate than that. I'll be honest, I'll put these things on, and the next day you look at it, and I'm like, it can't, I don't think these things are off by more than 15 seconds. In fact, less than that. And I've seen some other reviews on these, and some of the people are saying the same thing. I don't, it's not like they're regulated or anything like that. I don't know, like they give you that stat of -20 and plus 60 seconds. And then you're very, very pleasantly surprised when you wake up the next day and you look at you're like, and you against your, your phone or some other atomic clock, and you look and you're like, wow, they're way, way more accurate than they're stating here. And I don't know if I've lucked out, but if I did, I lucked out with two watches from two different online stores. One was Merriman, something like that. And I forget what the other one is. They're both really good to deal with. They're both out of Russia, both very, very good. I want to show you something here. The one thing, or there's two things about these watches that I think are excellent, excellent designs. And right when I said one thing, then two things, then I realized, no, probably three things. And I'm going to show you, well, I can show you two of them. One of them is the crown. If I unscrew this crown and you look at it, and I'm going to pull it out. With my gloves, it's a little difficult to do. Okay, there we go. You can see this. Take a look at this. Can you see how wobbly this thing is? The crown, it's wobbly. And when you get it, if you haven't heard before, you'll get it and you're like, what the hell? Like I was prepared for it because I had seen another video before, but it's a safety measure. So I don't recall exactly what it does, but you can look at other videos. Let me see if I can. So it's kind of like detached there, and it's so that the stem doesn't get damaged. You can still wind and turn. It doesn't affect it at all that way. It's a pretty cool feature. They say only to wind this in the instructions. It says don't wind more than 18 turns. So I take it doesn't have a safety mechanism for overwinding, which is a little disappointing, but it is what it is. 18 turns. I haven't had a problem with it. I just don't go past 18 turns. A quirk about this watch, to set the time, to set the date, you have to, here, I'll do it. And it's cumbersome with gloves on. I'm going to pull this out a bit. But basically, you have to go to the 9 o'clock position. And, sorry, you have to go to the 12 o'clock. So let's see if I have to go all the way around again. Yeah. Okay, so let me go all the way around because it's worth seeing. This is way harder with gloves on than you would think. But I have to be professional, So, Okay, watch what happens. I'm going to go past 12. It's going to go to 26. Okay, so what I do after is I go back just before 9 o'clock. And then I go back again past 12 o'clock. And let's see, watch, it's going to go to 27. Go back. This is how you set the time. So talk about old school. They could have done a better job at that, I'll be honest. And then you go past 12, 28. So that's how you set the time. Or sorry, the date. I want to show you something else. Sorry, before I do that, and it's a screw down crown, and it has a gasket, and it's 200 meters water resistance. And I'll be honest, I would trust this at 200 meters all day long. It's an acrylic crystal, okay? And with an acrylic crystal, the more water pressure, it's going to get tighter and tighter and tighter to the watch. That's the way they designed this. They designed it to get stronger and more water resistant as you go deeper, to a certain degree. I think the crown is probably the weakest point in this watch, with water depth, increasing water depth. I want to show you the thing I'm probably most impressed about this watch. This is their design. So I've already loosened this up a bit. It's not like a traditional screw down case back. With a typical screw down case back, you turn the whole case, and that whole case is putting shear pressure on the rubber gasket. And what I mean by shear pressure, I mean pressure that's downward and across. So it's putting pressure, stretching that, and putting a lot of sideways pressure as well as downward pressure on that rubber gasket. That's not good, because that's weakening the rubber gasket every time you take that case back on and off. What this has, it has the case back, but what it has over here around the edges, you can see it has another ring, and I've loosened this up already. So this ring is what's putting the pressure downward. So what happens is that you have the rubber gasket underneath this, okay? You have this case back that sits in a slot and just sits on top of the rubber case, the rubber gasket. And then you have this ring that provides the screw down pressure on top of the case, and it just pushes downward. So it's just a downward pressure. Let me see if that's, yep, that's off. So there's that ring. And let me see if I can pop this. I haven't actually taken this off yet. So let me see. I'm going to have to pause this video, and I will be right back. Okay, and we are back. So I just had to get a little pressure on that case back. So let me see if I can grab that tool again and just pop it out and reveal the movement. So there's the case back. And you can see it just has two slots there. It just fits right in those two slots, and all it has is downward pressure. And you can see that O-ring there. And you can see the movement. And I haven't seen too many videos with this movement, so let's get a little look at that. And you can see look at that balance wheel. Is it me, or is that thing slow? That's got to be, what, the 18,000 and something beats per hour? I forget exactly. It's a workhorse. It's not meant for too much precision or anything else. It just works. And then you have the B for that's the for Vostok, or how we pronounce it in English is, or we pronounce it in English and I guess Russian too, Vostok, but it has a B. The Russian letter is pronounced V. And there you go. Let me get a decent shot of that. I'll let you guys look at that for a second, because there's not a lot of videos of that movement. Let's get back over here. There we go. And I don't know, it's bidirectional, but I don't know the mechanism that it uses. But anyway, this one here is a bead blasted finish. And when I first got it, I was kind of pissed off, because I thought I ordered the polished one, and then the more I looked at it, I'm like, I really actually kind of like that. And I'll show you next to the polished. The polished is a smudge magnet. It really is. But if you like polished, it's cool. One of both. And you know what? They're so cheap. Like I said, $60. I'm like, I'm going to get both. A black one. And these are called, you see the guy in the background that's scuba diver. They call these the scuba dude. And this is the blue. And it's kind of like a teal. I'll be honest. It's not a blue dial, it's a teal dial with a blue bezel there. And that's, I think, kind of, this one here, I kind of feel like it's the most true to form, if you will. I'm just going to put that upside down over here for a second. And I'm going to show you the bracelet it comes with. They're just garbage. They're absolute garbage. I mean, they work. Don't get me wrong. They'll work just fine, but there's so much play back and forth. And I mean, ugh. Like, give me a break. You know, they're folded links. But, you know, at Rolex were folded links not that long ago. So I can't really say too much about the quality of folded links. They'll do just fine. It will do just fine, but you know what? Why not get a better bracelet or strap? This strap here I got from a company called Strap Co. Not to be confused with Strap Code. This is Strap Co. This bun strap. And over here, this one here, it's funny because this is a Stabe bracelet out of Germany. These are probably the finest mesh or shark mesh or Milanese, whatever you want to call it, bracelets that you can buy. I think they're around the $200 mark. So you got a $200 bracelet and it's thick. It's really thick. I forget how many mils this is, but this is a tough bracelet and it's just spectacular. There are no other bracelets that compare to these. I'll put my name on that for sure. But it's overkill with this. I'll put this on wrist here so you can see what it looks like. I'll put on my little girl wrists. You can see I wear it just over that little nub I have over there on my wrist. So you can see what that looks like on wrist. They're pretty cool. Like I said, they're fun watches. You can beat the hell out of these watches. You don't have to worry about them. The acrylic crystal, you know what? You have Polywatch, that cream that you can buff out any scratches with an acrylic. So I prefer acrylic over Hardlex or anything. I prefer acrylic above any crystal that's not sapphire, because you can buff them out and they have that retro look to them. Really dig this watch. May or may not sell this bracelet only because it's kind of overkill with this watch. Don't get me wrong, it looks good with it, but it is a bracelet that should be I feel like it should be reserved for a much better watch and a much more expensive watch, a much more refined watch. But I don't know. That's just me, talking crap right now. I'll probably end up keeping it. Because like I said, they're expensive. I can always use it for another watch if I want to, but it's on here for now. So I hope you like this review. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it down there. And like I said, thank you for tuning in. It's been another Gassy Jack gear review. Thank you so much, folks. We'll see you soon.